All right, welcome back everybody. Today I've decided that I'm going to show you how to sew a zipper. The most simplest thing that can be done, in my opinion. I had to make these cute little pencil bags, and when I was learning how to sew in 8th grade, and it was a really great project. And then when I was in, I would make them sometimes. And I would do I would make so that the corners were boxed. I'm not gonna do that today. I'll have to show you that another time. But I bought this zipper. The Walmart has these zippers now that are only like $1, and that's pretty cheap for a zipper. Well, unless you're buying them in bulk or something like that. I have bought zippers in bulk, but for just buying an individual zipper, normally I pay $2, $3, even $5 sometimes for a zipper. I know, it's ridiculous, but I've wanted to try it out. Like, I saw it and I was like, there's no way that it can be any good if it's only $1, right? But it seems to be good. So, anyways, I've already cut out the fabric, and I'm going to do a lining on it too, to be the same size as the zipper, which is about 8.5 inches. So this is a 7-inch zipper, but that's only the zipper part. Okay, the part that extends after that is a little bit longer. So I've cut it to be the same size as the zipper, like the whole zipper, and then these little parts here will get taken out in the seam allowance. And then, so this is 8.5 inches wide right now, and 6 inches tall, I guess you could say, tall. So 8.5 inches, 6 inches, okay? That's what I'm doing with a 7-inch zipper, and I'll go ahead and get started. So the very, very first thing that I need to do is change to a zipper foot. Now, there's lots of different kinds of zipper feet out there. The one for my machine here looks like a little ski. Okay. Some machines have a zipper foot that looks like, they have the one that will move back and forth this way and this way. The point is that when we're sewing the zipper, right, if I have this part, the actual zipper part, underneath the presser foot, it can sometimes get jammed, but especially right here, this part right here will get caught. I'm going to have to move it up and down as I sew. All right, I have to be able to hold it down on the side that I'm sewing, close to, and then not have it. I'm not explaining this well. Okay, I'm either going to sew it like this or like this. Okay, and so I'm going to change my foot. What I love about Bernina's is that the feet change out really fast. But if you look, that needle is going to come right down on the middle of that ski. So for this particular situation, I have to move the needle. So my sewing machine is built so that way it can do that. I can move, it's computerized, so I can have it move all the way over there, or I can have it move all the way over here based on which way I'm sewing. I tend to like it having it all the way over here, so that way I can sew this way like I normally would. I normally like to have my seam over here and then the rest of the fabric over there, so that it doesn't run into the inside part of the machine. And I've just gotten accustomed to doing that. So I'm going to have my needle all the way over to the right, so that way I can sew. All right, I've gone ahead and pinned the zipper on so it's face down on the fabric that's facing up. the right side, in other words, the right side is the side that is going to be seen eventually, and the wrong side is the side that will be on the inside, right? So when I say right sides together, the right side of the zipper is the side that I can zip it. The wrong side is this back side, okay? Now I've put pins in different directions and stuff for different reasons. This one and this one, the ones that are going up and down, are trying to keep the zipper going in place this way. And then the ones that are going the other way are trying to keep the edges of the zipper to the edge of the fabric lined up. And I have to pay attention to where the actual zipper part is. By the way, there should be a tiny number on it. This is a number 3 zipper. That means that that's the size of the actual zipper portion. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and sew it here. I have this on the wrong side again. You know what? I was wrong before. I want my needle on the other side so that I can sew better. So I'm going to move it back over. Okay. What I want my needle to be as close to the zipper as possible. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this right here. Well, maybe that's too close. On this particular machine, I find that lining it up with the ski right here works out really well for doing this method of an exposed zipper. And you're gonna have to test it out on your machine. Right here is where the actual zipper is. I can feel it. And I don't want to sew over that. All right, so I'm just going to sew here. Now it's difficult because, as you can see, this feed dog here isn't helping pull the fabric through at all. So that means that if you have a fabric that is like fuzzy or leather, I don't know, but what it basically means is it's going to have a harder time pulling the fabric through. So if it has any extra resistance, that's going to cause an issue. All right, so there we go. I kind of have to push it through a little bit. All right, I'm going to put my needle down. Before I do this, I need to move the zipper part. So I'm going to put my needle down before I move it. I might need to raise my presser foot. I normally do. There we go. It's very hard to sew the zipper at that portion if I don't move it. Okay. Now, with it zipped up, this is how much of the zipper is going to show. Well, you'll see the other half in just a little bit. When I'm pinning the other one, I like to line it up with the other piece I've already done. So I've put in that pin there. The actual zipper pull itself gets in the way of pinning. So I'm going to pin a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it. So that it's a lot easier for me to pin the rest. Okay. It doesn't matter, well, it might matter, but it doesn't matter if I'm sewing with the fabric on top or with the zipper on top. So I'm showing you both ways. All right. But before I start, I need to move this up again. There's the metal part right there. I want to make sure that I do not sew on that because it will break my needle. Now it's kicking in. I don't have to push it so much. Right now what I'm getting, I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a bubble. Maybe if I cover up this light a little bit. There's a little bit of a bubble right here where the zipper is acting like it's shorter than the fabric, and I'm trying to get that flattened out as I'm sewing so that it won't create a little pleat there. So I'm just gonna stretch. And I'll pull here and pull there and stretch. All right, and now I need to move the zipper. I guess I lost a little bit. It looks pretty good. It looks like it stretched out a little bit here, and that's okay. That's one of the reasons why I like to sew from the same direction. So you'll notice that I started at this end for both of them. At least I think I did. But I like to sew coming from the same direction on both sides. So that way if something stretches out a little bit, it'll stretch out the same way. So if I was sewing a dress, I would want to sew the zipper on going down the zipper. That's what I normally do to help make sure that it stays even. Now look at how it's showing. All right. If I was only doing one layer, I would go ahead and top stitch this right now. But I'm going to do a lining because I'm thinking this is probably going to hold pencils, and the pencils will like poke through the fabric sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and add on the lining. And what you do is the zipper goes in between the layers. So I'm going to have this folded so that like the zipper, the actual fabric is not going to be in the way at all. And then I'm going to take my lining fabric and I'm going to put it there. So I already have my zipper here, and I know that that's going to be the part that's seen. And then I'm going to do the lining right there. Okay? So that's how it's sandwiched, is that way. So I'll just go ahead and pin it really quick. Now some of you might be wondering, why isn't she doing all those pins those different ways and whatever now? Once I have fabric on here, it's got something to hold on to and it doesn't shift around as much. The zippers are made from a synthetic fabric, and it's kind of slippery, like the zipper material itself. It's either nylon or polyester or something like that. So now that I already have some fabric there, it was just a lot easier to pin. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew that really quick. And because it's the lining, if I sew it a little further out, that's okay. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I've got to go find my zipper now. So there's one layer, there's another layer. So that's on there now. So that when I sew this now, I pull these both apart, I can then have my lining there and my other fabric there. But I still have to put on the other side. So I've got this piece on there. Now I need to put on that one. So I'm going to fold it this way. All right, and this part of the zipper is the part I'm gonna cover. Right there. I want to push this down to make sure that it doesn't get sewn through as well. I'm going to move the zipper to make it easier to pin. Does that seem really off center? Oh no, this is the one that got pulled a little bit. Maybe it is a little off center. So I'm going to pin this part and then I'm going to go readjust my other pins. Because I've got the zipper pull right there, I'm not going to bother pinning that right now. I go ahead and sew this. Okay, now I'm going to put that back in there. Put the zipper up. Now it's easier to line my fabric up. There we go. Now I can go ahead, open this up. See? Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch this, but before I do, I'm gonna iron it. Now, here's the thing. The actual, if this is a plastic zipper where the actual, like it has the coils like this one, those melt, okay? So I'm either going to have my iron on a very low setting, or I'm going to be very careful not to actually iron the coils themselves. On a metal zipper, like for jeans, that's not going to be a problem. But for this one, I need to make sure I don't melt the zipper coils. This part right in here. All right. So I've gone ahead and ironed it. And I mean, technically, I guess you don't have to iron it. it just does make it easier. So this is what it looks like on this side and on this side. I guess technically you don't even have to top stitch it. I just like to. So I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch now. The thing that's gonna be a little bit tricky though is that it's hard to tell what your seam allowance is when you've moved the needle. So I'm just gonna sew it close to the edge. Now this is what I'm gonna do. Instead of like cutting that and clipping it, I'm just gonna turn it around. I still need to back stitch though. Doesn't it look nice? What happened here? Well, anyways. And then look on the back side. Wow, that really shows up there. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip this now. Worked just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it. So I've got my zipper this way. I need it partially zipped down. I don't want the zipper thing all the way over here because when I sew it, then that's gonna get in the way. I want just a little bit over from there, okay? But I need it open so that way I can turn it inside out. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin that. I'm going to put my corners together. And up here. And then here. You can see it got a little bit off, but it doesn't matter. I can trim that. It's a little bit off, and that's okay. It's okay. It's on here though. Now, because of this metal part right here, I still want to use this zipper foot. I probably don't need it as much over here. If I don't want to use the zipper foot for sewing all the way around, I could just sew like 1 inch and like 1 inch down and then go and put my regular foot back on. It is a little bit difficult to figure out seam allowance because I've moved my needle over this way. It's over about 1/8 of an inch. So if I want to sew at 5/8 of an inch, I'm actually going to be sewing at like the 1/2 inch mark. That's right on the metal thing. I don't want to sew on the metal thing. I want to sew a little away from it. So I'm just going to sew here. I'm going to use the feed dogs right here as my point for my I can't even think, my seam allowance. There we go. Now, if I don't like how the sewing went around here, as long as I've got to right up here, if I have that in, I could go sew it again right here if I want it to be a little closer or something like that. But as long as I have this part in, I could go and then fix the rest up with my regular presser foot if I wanted. So before I turn it inside out, I want to make sure that I clip my corners. Okay. And then I left the opening open. I can turn off the sewing machine now so that I can turn it inside out. There we go. And if I wanted to, you see how this part right here is sticking out a little bit funny? If I care a lot, I can go and I can trim this part of my zipper now that it's sewn. Right there. So that it's a little bit better. I guess I didn't make much of a difference, but what I'm gonna do now, just to, you see how it's fraying? I'm gonna go ahead and serge that, so that it's nice on the inside. You could also zigzag over it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So, just so that it's less in the way, I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew this down. Oh, I turned my machine back on, and I have to remember to move the needle again. But which side am I going to be on? I'm going to be sewing right here. So I need the needle on this side. I guess I could do this with a regular foot. I did not backstitch because the whole thing was one big backstitch. Every time I turn off the machine when I'm using a zipper foot, I have to make sure that I remember to go back. All right, so that's down now. I've never done that before, but like, I don't know if I like it. Maybe I don't, but anyways. Well, so there you have it. This nice little bag. I already put the rest of the mechanical pencils in here that I have. It fits mechanical pencils really well. So, zips open nice. I have to say that this dollar zipper is actually pretty good. Yeah. So this is probably, I should measure how big this is now. Oh no. So it is, yep, 7.5 inches wide now. And it has the pencils in it. 5.5 inches. So this is a really nice size for just holding pencils and stuff like that. A lot of the ones I made before, I would make the corners boxed, and so it wouldn't end up being that size. Or, anyways, There are a lot of different methods out there on how to sew a zipper. I think I think some people even think that the way that I did it is like taboo or something like that. Because normally you don't like sew it together before then top stitch it. But the point is, that is the easiest way that I know to put on a zipper for just a bag like this. And the zipper is going to be seen, okay? And if you're okay with that and you're just making a little bag, this is the easiest method that I know. And if you've never done a zipper before, I highly suggest that you try this. It's just a little bit of fabric, and the zipper didn't cost that much, and it's really great. If you want to make smaller bags than this, I've never been able to find a zipper smaller than a 7-inch zipper at a craft or fabric store. I have to buy those online. So if you want to get a smaller zipper than that, you can buy it online. I think the smallest I've gotten is a 3-inch zipper. So remember that the zipper size... Bruce, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come on. You got caught on a cord. There's so many cords going on in here. Anyways, the zipper size is the distance from here to here. Okay? So, anyways, good luck with that, and wait for another video next week. Bye. Bruce was caught in the cord that comes down from the sewing machine to the control pedal. Yep. But he's not stuck now. Huh, Bruce?